back to Let's Review It. Today I'm going to be reviewing a video game for the first time, and the reason I'm doing it is because I'm really into realism, particularly into bike games, and one of the things that I hate about bike games is lack of realism. So I used to race bikes myself many years ago when I was about 16 stone lighter and quite a bit younger. And I like to play games that kind of really emulate the sport and really feel like you're riding a bike, and not games that are just completely arcadey. So I did a review recently about Ride 3, MotoGP and a couple of other bike games, and Ride 3 for me is definitely the most realistic yet. But rather than go through and give you a complete review of the game, what I'm going to do is show you how I created myself in a game, compared it against some real life laps on the same bike, just to see how realistic the game actually is. So here we go then. So we're going to go into the actual game itself. Seems to take an eternity to load. One of the things I've noticed about Ride 3, I don't know if any of you guys have noticed it before, is that sometimes when you start the game from the Xbox menu, you just get the loading screen and then all of a sudden it kind of cuts out. I don't really know what it is. So if any of you know, put the answers in the comments below. Okay, so we are first going to create the bike. So the last season that I was racing in an Aprilia RSV. You can see it on the screen now. I've already created it. Effectively, you buy the bike in the game, you can go to customize, and then obviously you can make a whole bunch of changes. So I tried to make this as realistic as possible. So at the time I had an Acro exhaust, which had been chipped and tuned. I had Olin suspension, I had Brembo brakes off of the R model. I actually had the early edition, so this is the 99. I raced in the Golden Era Superbikes. So, you know, relatively standard spec. I think the bike was running about 110 horsepower at the rear wheel, so not massive power. Before that I was racing in the super stock, and obviously that was massively different. So just made the basic suspension upgrades. I think I've already done the brake cables, so braided brake lines. So let's just add those. I don't know why braided brake lines would be paintable. Brake pads, racing brake pads. So I'm just going to make the last few changes now so that it's fairly accurate. Can't remember what brake disc I had. I think that was Brembo. £2,000. See, that's the other thing, is why don't they use the real costs? I don't think Brembo brake discs were £2,000 when I bought them. Suspension I've already done. Wheels, they're the standard wheels. Gearbox with standard engine. Had an air filter, so let's put a race air filter on it. ECU, had a power commander, so let's do that. See here it shows the weight is 182 kilograms. There's no friggin' way my bike was only 182. It weighed like 15 tons, I'm pretty sure. Getting that thing lent over was a mission. Right. So we've got that. Oil, we can change the oil. I don't really know if it makes any difference, but let's change oil. £80 or euros or whatever that's in. I don't know what currency it's in. Friction reduction, racing pistons, didn't have any of that. Crankshaft. Valve tuning, didn't do that either. Appearance, what can we do? So I've already removed the mirrors. With some of the bikes on this game you can actually race modify it, so you get all race fairings and stuff like that. This bike, you can see, has still got the headlights and tail lights, but obviously it's had the tail tardy removed. That's pretty much it. So what I've also done is gone in and you can edit the livery. Now I've seen some great liveries online, but if you want to do a custom livery, you need to go to this livery editor. There's a whole bunch of, you know, graphics that you can choose from that are already kind of pre-formatted, or you can create your own. So obviously most of my logos are from, you know, local companies that sponsored me and stuff like that, so I had to create my own. It's really difficult. You're limited to the number of actual text fonts, type fonts that you can create. So for example, if I just go in and show you, So this Team 70 logo you see on the side, the actual version, I'll pop up on the screen in a second so you can see what it actually looked like, but the font type that I used was obviously completely different, and of course it wouldn't be on here, but in terms of adding a font type in, you really only got 4 font types, and you can make them more italic and stuff like that, but you're quite limited here. I think one feature that would be really good is if you could maybe use a PC to create your own layers and then import those in some sort of file. Maybe there's a mod that you can do on the PC version that, if any of you know about, please let me know. So I created the bike as best I could, so let's just come out of that. And then obviously you want to make sure that your rider looks the same, so customised rider. Clearly I'm much fatter than that now, but that's about the size that I was when I was racing. Race outfit, so it's racing 2. Difficult now because when I was racing I had BKS leathers, some of you may remember BKS, and I had RST boots and gloves and a shark helmet. Well, RST as a brand isn't on this game, which is a bit crap because it's a massive brand in the UK. Don't think shark helmets are on here, no, so no shark, which is a bit disappointing. And BKS, yeah, BKS, you know, went bust a long time ago. So I've tried, you know, my best to replicate what I was wearing at the time. Not that that should have any bearing on the actual lap itself. So we're going to go and do a lap of Brands Hatch, or some laps of Brands Hatch, and see just how realistic this actually is. So let's have a look. Race options, off-track aid on, physics pro, anti-wheelie low. I didn't have any anti-wheelie, so can you turn it off? No. Automatic tuck-in, don't want any trajectory, don't want automatic, and we'll leave rewind on because we're trying to make a video here, so that's all good. Cool, so let's do this. So when I was racing on this bike at Brands Hatch, I think the lap times were sort of like 50 seconds, 51 seconds on the Indy circuit. God knows what it was on the GP circuit. So let's do a couple of laps and we'll see. I think the thing is with games is obviously I'm not afraid of dying. I know I haven't got to get off for work in the morning. Well, actually I have. So I know if I fall off, I'm not going to break my arm. So you tend to be a bit more banzai on computer games than you do in real life for sure. But it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see what it looks like as an overlay. So what I'll do is I'll do a few laps, get my eye in, and then we'll overlay the actual laps and see what it looks like. So before we start doing a whole bunch of laps, let's stop a second, just take a look at the graphics. So straight away, scenery is good. The garage is on the right there, all the cars outside, you've got the building in front, the grassy verge, there's no spectators, which is good because I'm likely to crash quite a bit. Bright graphics up close are pretty good. The actual textures of the bike are not amazing. You can see the textures of the tyre is good, you can kind of see the carbon fibre in the front mudguard. So let's have a look. You get the exhaust pops, which is pretty good. Brake lights obviously work. So you've got this kind of onboard view, which is pretty good. The textures on the glove and stuff is quite nice. All the switch gear is good. I've had a few of these bikes, so quite familiar with them. So this is the in-helmet view, I guess. This is just the front of the bike. I don't like this. And this is obviously the standard external view, which you can kind of revolve around. So got the traction control switched off. You can see in the bottom right there, you can actually turn it up or down. I didn't have traction control. Could have used it. So let's go. Let's stick it in first and just go for it. So normally hit this in about third. Just click the apex. A little blip of throttle down into second. Here we we go, so run it out wide, it's a late apex, just wind the throttle up, smash the throttle on here, up to 4th, up to 5th, and just after the finish line looking for the start lights, brake down into 3rd, I'm already being beaten by myself, watch, missed the apex, onto this green crap, and that's the first lap busted. So let's get ourselves lined up again. I mean, the actual dynamics of this track is really good. What tends to happen with a lot of computer games when you're playing real tracks is you lose any kind of perspective of elevation change. And if you've been to Brands Hatch before, it's like a natural amphitheatre. And one thing you do get with this game, which is pretty good, is a perspective of elevation change, and the bumps are all in the right places, which is really good because with Brands Hatch you can really hang it out on some of these turns. So bearing in mind that's only the second flying lap, I've already done a 48 and it was a pretty scrappy lap as well. So in real life, most of the guys in my class on these sorts of bikes were doing, the best guys were like 14.9s. So I guess when you factor in the reality that it's a game and not real life, and I'm not frightened about falling off and breaking my arms, that's pretty good. What I like about it also is when you're braking quite heavily into turns on the front, you get the vibration in the controller to kind of tell you that the front is moving, which is good. You do get subtle vibrations through the controller when the back is spinning up. One thing that isn't particularly realistic is the fact that you can brake pretty hard whilst you're completely leant over. If you squeeze the brake as I was saying, if you squeeze the brake as hard as that in mid-corner, you'd be off. But quite equally, if you ride on the curbs, you fall off as well. So that's good, I guess. I've actually fallen off there a couple of times in real life. So I've invalidated my time there, so let's go for another one. Down into 3rd, get a grip on the throttle, miss that apex by a mile, down into 2nd, catch this one early. You can, some people come back for the 2nd apex, but I always used to ride quite wide and cutting quite tight here. Ended up on the grass there a few times, look for the lights as a braking marker, back, down into 3rd, wait, patient, come in for the apex. Sometimes you can scuff your elbow on that go. Brake under the bridge. This needs 1st gear, as I've learned. 2nd, bit of 3rd, brake. I've gone down too many gears. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, touch a brake, down a gear, into the right. I mean, it's pretty realistic, if I'm honest. I mean, the traction control is completely off, and I'm full throttle, full lean. I mean, that would have put you into orbit. And 47, a 47 is probably realistic, you know, back in the BSB days with these sorts of bikes, but for me, you know, in real life, there's no way I'd have been able to do a 47 on this bike. I think the BSB boys are doing 45s around Brands Indy, so it's a little bit inaccurate, but I guess the idea is for you to be able to simulate the best riders, so perhaps it's not a bad thing. So hopefully by the overlay you can see the track itself is pretty realistic. The colours are a little bit rich for me, and it lacks a little bit, some of the buildings lack a little bit of detail, but you really notice that when you're playing. So stop 2nd. So you can see the elevation there. Let's just have a look at what the replay quality is like. Okay, picked up a load of prestige stuff I'm not really interested in. Okay, so let's have a look at the replay. I didn't set a valid lap time, so there's no replay. Pretty typical. So yeah, I mean, the game is actually surprisingly good. Sorry I can't show you the replay, but I didn't set a valid lap time. I don't really know why that was, perhaps because I went on the green. But if any of you obviously race Brands Hatch on Aprilia, and you managed to get into the 47s and 48s, well done, you're my hero. I never did, unfortunately. But yeah, stick some of your comments and videos in the description below. It'd be interesting to see, you know, other people's perspectives. I'm sure on, you know, more modern bikes. I mean, I've raced Brands Hatch on a normal 10 and got into the 40s, but that's obviously not what we're doing here today. So yeah, stick some comments in the description below. I am going to have a go at playing this online, and I'll be back later on with a bit of a review of what that's like online. And also the Supermoto side of the game. A few people have been talking about that, so I'm going to take a look at that as well, and I'll be back later with a video. So yeah, let me know what you think, comments in the box below, and yeah, stay tuned to Let's Review It. Laters.